become good.
Good morning, good afternoon, and good evening, everybody. Jason, it's Thursday afternoon, and I don't know why I think it's Friday morning.
It's the week, man.
I
feel
week.
Like today's Friday, and yeah, tomorrow should be Saturday. I'm ready.
But we've talked about this before, where it's like this year, something is up with the calendar this year, where the days just don't feel like normal days.
Oh yeah, no. I mean, it was weird. Like yesterday felt like a Monday, and then the day before that felt like a Monday, and then here today feels like a Friday.
Yeah.
So
yeah, 100%.
Well, I'm in agreement with you, man. It's like it's wild.
I'll tell you what, it's Friday for me.
It is Friday for you?
It's Friday for me.
Man,
tomorrow I'm on the road. Oh
my gosh. You know, I would love. Where do I sign up for your lifestyle? You know,
you just have to sacrifice. You have to sacrifice every waking moment so that you can work at a startup, which you're part of the way there. I mean, you're 9 years old. We don't really call those startups anymore, right? And then you have to forsake your family so that you can go head first and do nothing but learn how to play golf professionally.
Oh, well, yeah. I'll think about that.
Yeah.
I didn't even get an invite. You know, you're going golfing. I didn't even get an invite.
Do you want to go play in a tournament? No. I'll be more than happy to pay for your entry fee just to see your scorecard at the end of this tournament.
Oh, well, yeah, my scorecard would look awful. People would probably be wondering, like, what are you doing here? And why did you come?
Yeah. It's all good, buddy. It's all good. How you feeling?
I'm feeling pretty good. You know, I think I mentioned to you, but you know, I decided to move a couple yards of dirt with.
Hold on. Before we preface this, I want Chad to hear this story. I'm asking Jason this specifically because this is exactly what old man stubborn sounds like. It's about to come out of Jason's mouth right here.
I'm trying to keep myself young. I'm trying to, do some manual labor. Use the shovel, still keep the muscles, tight. And
how'd that go for you?
My back is screaming today. 3 ibuprofens, chiropractor appointment yesterday. I feel like I need to go back to the chiropractor again today.
What'd the chiropractor tell you yesterday?
I am messed up. And I said, yes, I am. So, I mean, this is how it was. I was laying on the chiropractor table and he adjusts me and I screamed.
Did you really?
And he's like, and then he was like, okay, I need you to, slightly roll over. And I was like, I don't think I can. So It was pretty bad. It was so bad. If you can imagine this, I was sweating on the chiropractor table, sweating because that's how bad things were.
That's how bad it
So
was. Oh,
that's how bad it was.
so you're struggling. You struggled a bit today. You're on the struggle bus a bit today.
Yeah, I'm not at the office. I haven't gone in because there's a flight of stairs at the office, and it was hard to get dressed this morning. So
I don't
just being
mean
honest.
I don't mean to laugh at your pain, but you have come to this stream with some of the best stories. Everything from I've got to keep a generator in my Tesla just in case the batteries die on me in the middle of the highway.
Yeah.
To I tried to be a young man and dig a trench in my yard with a shovel. When you have a tractor, let's remind Chad, you have a tractor.
I do, but it doesn't have the little backhoe thing on it. It just has a front end loader. But the front end
do you
loader
live in a part of Michigan where there's no like equipment rental companies?
There is an equipment rental company. You're poking on something here. I was trying to do the healthy thing, like and try and dig a trench, myself. But here I've proved myself wrong. So,
well, thank you for sharing your plight with us, Jason. We appreciate it.
Yeah. I'm happy to share.
Well, we've got some exciting news that we're going to share with Chad a little bit later on. Before we hit to that, let's do the rules thing and everything so that everybody's aware of it. Thanks everybody for tuning in, to today's threat brief. Jason, I realize it's not Tuesday, it's not Friday, it's Thursday, so it's one of the other 5 days of the week that we choose to stream randomly.
Yeah, we just stream randomly now,
With that being said, chat, obviously we keep chat free to be racist, sexist, misogynistic, elitist, and otherwise toxic behavior. There's a zero tolerance policy for that. Words are hard. For that, inside of chat. With that being said, we do have moderators inside of chat. Give a huge shout out and thanks to all of our moderators who choose to take time out of their busy days. They are also working full-time jobs to come and make sure that chat is free of all racist, sexist, misogynistic, elitist, and otherwise toxic behavior in chat. So we do truly appreciate the shameless sacrifices of all of our moderators for what it is they do day in, day out. With that being said,
we do allow some ripping on of some companies, though.
Oh yeah, no, absolutely. Who are we ripping on right now?
Well, there's some headlines that we.
I was gonna say, like I plan on dropping a couple names today from some stuff I've got lined up for you to talk about.
Yeah.
So
if you want to do some ripping, let's
we'll get into it here in a little bit. Real quick, chat. This is our weekly threat brief. We're streaming across a multitude of social channels. If you are tuned into us from any of those social channels. Please feel free to drop any of your comments, questions, whatever you've got inside of chat. We do have folks that are watching across those chats who will address any of your questions, comments, or concerns that you do indeed have. With that being said, this is our weekly threat brief. Jason and I sit here and we've got a couple of things that we like to talk about and share with the audience that we think are the most relevant things that are happening in our industry. One of the reasons that we asked Jason here and that he's so graciously, taking the time out of running BitLift to be here is that his team sees a lot of the stuff on the front lines on a day-to-day basis. They are dealing with incidents and threats and protecting organizations day to day. And so he is as close to the frontline soldiers, unless Noah decides to grace us with his presence, that we can get in this threat brief. So, Jason, as always, thank you and the team for prepping the content for today. We do all truly appreciate it.
Yeah, absolutely. I love it.
All right.
We're in an industry that changes every moment, so it's fun putting together the threat briefs.
All right, so what you got? Hit me with it, because I got some for you today, but I'm going to let you go first.
Well, I think where I wanted to start out was really talking about if you guys have got your ears to the ground and are watching this, but if you're not and you don't have your ears to the ground and maybe you're keeping extremely busy in your job, then you need to be aware that there is some NPM packages that are being exploited.
I'm glad you brought this one up because this is one of the ones I wanted to talk about.
This is you can go out there. We're not going to read verbatim what's going on, but There's about 500
Yeah.
packages now that have been actively exploited.
Real quick, let's take a quick back. Let's remind our non-dev centric folks what NPM packages are. If you, I was gonna say, you want to take this one, Jason? You want to break this one down?
They're basically node packages. They're a node package manager, and that's what NPM stands for. They're essentially bundled, developed projects that you can go and grab. Say it's a prepackaged piece of code that you need to run inside of your program that does something, and you don't have to recreate the wheel, if you will. These are spread across GitHub repos. So if you want, an authentication package, or you want a new emoji, or you want, NPM packages, there's literally billions of them.
These are basically libraries. These are basically libraries that developers use all the time in their applications.
Yep. And we've got some things to go over today, but these libraries are now being used to push malware, and these malware worms are now moving around inside of packages. And I just want people to really understand today and grasp that one major component of this is that EDRs are not looking for this type of activity.
This is amazing how this story has unfolded. If you didn't hear how this story unfolded, let me kind of like shed some light on this. There was a developer, a key developer of the NPM repositories, who had basically become a victim of a phishing email. He had gotten a phishing email. He had given up his credentials. Those credentials had led to the compromise of his GitHub repo. The adversary had used that access to upload very rapidly malicious NPM packages.
I think the guy's name was Josh.
If there's a Josh, if you say so. I'm not sure if you're picking on someone specifically on that one. That might be a Jason inside joke that I'm not akin to on that one.
Yeah.
But they used that access. They uploaded a bunch of malicious NPM packages with the hopes that as somebody did PNPM update or anything else like that, they would automatically pull these malicious GitHub repos. Now, Jason, what I love about this story, other than talking about software, supply chain vulnerabilities and things like that, is that there's actually really two interesting pieces to this story. For me, The first interesting piece was it happened. The community saw it happen. They responded really quickly, and they were able to allegedly remediate and get most of the NPM packages reverted before allegedly there were no downloads. At least that was the story that we had heard, was that allegedly there were no downloads of this malicious repo. But then this week, we may have found out that may not have been the case.
That's right. And that's why, folks, you never want to, quickly trust the first piece of information that comes out, right? Always let, the information, boil and simmer a little bit for a couple weeks.
Yeah.
Because next thing you know, we find out old CrowdStrike is part of this.
Our good old friends at CrowdStrike.
And, it's this irony situation. Here, the cybersecurity company with supposedly the best AI detection.
They just did 4 more AIs, I think, this week as part of Falcon.
Oh, yeah. That, that were a part of it. And so here their system at large scale. I mean, you can go read. It was like a massive part. They were using tons of libraries that were infected.
I think the final
And
list ended up being like 800 something that they ended up.
yeah.
The indicators that were released were in the 800s, of hashes and packages that they were using.
This is set to be the largest in history supply chain attack. That's where this stands right now at the moment. And you're right, when you think about when this started, it was September 8th that this came out.
Yeah.
Today's September 18th.
Yeah.
Here we're 10 days later. I actually still believe in my heart that we do not know completely the extent of what's going on here.
Yeah.
I think that we only know the surface level information. I think things are still being found out because nobody was expecting NPM packages to get exploited and then used as exfiltration, stealing data, using crypto. I mean, it's just extensive now.
Yeah.
And the number of companies that are actually like detecting on this type of behavior, you can count on less than one hand.
Absolutely. When it happened, right? I mean, because to your point, these are open source libraries that are available on GitHub. There's nothing malicious about them. There was nothing malicious designed about them. They were meant to be, tools for developers, on top of the fact that, and again, I've worked in some large organizations and I know you see this on the front lines with the companies you work with. Developers are afforded a shit ton of leeway when it comes to the exceptions and the lack of security, for lack of a better word, on their devices for the sake of development and agility.
Oh yeah, I have heard it. I've been in this space a little while, like you. Just started not too long ago. And feel like I have heard it the whole time.
Yeah.
Like, developers need the autonomy to be able to move. They need this autonomy. They need the autonomy. And so, in some cases, developers were, in my opinion, the riskier part of the organization because they wanted the least amount of security.
Yeah.
Because I'm developing like on my local laptop and I cannot be hindered.
That's right.
I was like, well, I actually told some of these folks several years back that, well, maybe you should develop on a machine that doesn't have the access to the internet.
Or the corporate network.
Maybe you should, or a corporate network, because you're not willing to, take part in some of the cybersecurity protocols, which are standards.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. I'm, I still attest, and I think we have seen so many near misses. I want to call this yet another near miss, right? And I say it's a near miss because, and we may never know because lawyers and shit like that, right? But open source software, and eCurve hits it on the money, right? What do we expect? Like, companies aren't going to reinvent the wheel. Open source software isn't going to go anywhere. Most organizations aren't going to write all of their code from scratch, but we have now grown to trusting the open source community to adhere to minimum best practices of security standards, whether it comes to secure code design or whatever the case is. In order to protect billion-dollar, multi-billion-dollar, $100 billion organizations with no checks and balances.
I mean, I think that this just still goes to show. I said this last stream that, people have to stop buying, the big brand name because I won't lose my job. And because this goes to show that those big companies, the big giants, can actually fall faster and have looser guidelines internally. And then these public situations like this are what actually showcase their loose guidelines internally.
Yeah.
And next thing you know, you have literally millions of people in I don't know how many customers that are affected.
So
Half a million.
we could doomsday on this one a while, and trust me, I'm all about doomsdaying, especially when it comes to certain vendors. CrowdStrike. No love lost there for those guys. But at the same time, like, I was at dinner with a CISO this week, and I meet with CISOs frequently, as you know. You and I share insights all the time. Software supply chain is scary. There are not a lot of people who will openly acknowledge, but they'll acknowledge in private, they have no idea how to protect against this.
Yeah, it is. So go take one step back for a second. A lot of the regulatory and compliance pieces were like, hey, you need to understand your supply chain and how it's going to affect you. All of these auditors were talking about, hey, how do you ask your vendors what they do for password management, vulnerability management, and all of these components, right? They never ask them, what are you guys doing about your libraries?
Yeah.
And they never ask them, see, this is the part of the supply chain risk that really has not been talked about.
Yeah.
If I have bad code embedded in my good code, and how am I testing that? How am I monitoring it? And this is the area that has not had a lot of focus. There has been an uber focus on the endpoints and the firewalls, and there's been an uber focus on, I need to look at my cloud security and the containers and the network traffic and all of that that's out there. But nobody has really paid strong attention to the software development aspects.
I completely agree, and I think that's what eCurve references here. For those who don't understand the acronym that eCurve's got up on screen right now, SBOM, or Software Bill of Materials, that was originally decided to be what the industry kind of thought would be the answer to how we get better at software supply chain, and it's effectively a CMDB for your software libraries. But I can tell you from firsthand experience, Jason, I don't know how your team at BitLift or how you've seen other organizations that you consult with handle this. It's actually super hard. Like, in a fast, agile organization that is developing constantly, let alone an organization that may have 50 to 100 development teams, having a comprehensive SBOM is harder than having a CMDB.
Yeah. And this is the part that I really recommend people push in on. It may be hard, but it's necessary.
Yeah.
Right? This is something that has to be done because it involves our future. Right? We need to completely understand that software bill of materials and how it's going to affect us as we build reliance on it. So if you're building a reliance on CrowdStrike, or you're building a reliance on other software packages, if you're a software development shop yourself and you're including libraries that you did not build, you need to be fully aware of them. And you need to understand how they are going to affect the business. The business needs to know.
Let's tabletop this really quick, because I want people to. We can have a very small tabletop on this to showcase just how literally hard this is. So you're BitLift, and you provide a service. You have built a platform where you have used open source software. So your bill of materials, and we're going to hypothesize, I'm not speaking on behalf of BitLift in this, right? I'm not asking you to, but you've got a bill of materials of the libraries that you have used. But in some cases, you have probably used a library or a package of libraries that has some other libraries that are second order, third order, fourth order down the stream. And so now the right way to have that software bill of material is you have that software package and you have all of the libraries attached to that, and then you've done that yet again for the next layer down. So you have to decide from a risk perspective how many N plus whatevers you need to go down to feel like you have the risk picture of the libraries in your environment.
I look at that as you need that tree. That's a tree, right? This subcomponent. Yeah. You at least need to understand it.
Yeah.
This is And you're right. It is a lot of work. And I know software developers do not like documentation. But this is like one of those things where if we don't do it, right,
Yeah.
and we don't do the proper work that's here, we will regret it later, right? There might not be um, a company to rely on
Yeah.
because the breach was so bad,
Yeah.
and I mean that's the problem here.
Yeah. I mean,
So
it's
I
a
mean, if you're in
it
cybersecurity and you don't like to do work, then you're probably in the wrong field.
but at the same time, what I'll also say though is that this is one of those areas that feels very much like, um, you know, it doesn't do one pocket of the internet any good to do better about software bill of materials. And I think this is our only saving grace. If I were to say this is our only saving grace in this instance, as well as maybe like, again, I'll put my old hat on and be like, Heartbleed was probably the first software supply chain, one of the first software supply chain incidents that we had back with the SSL and TLS certificates way back when, right? It's always been the community. It's always been the community as a whole that has saved almost every supply chain instance that we've had out there. And at some point in time, that is going to fail.
Yeah. I mean, I've had people tell me, well, the whole reason why we use open source or this type of code is because it is community driven and you have more eyeballs on it and that type of thing. But there's also a double-edged sword there. You have a little bit less control over it, and you don't know who exactly is committing to it, and if they have the extreme nature of detail orientation to it, like you might have, if that makes sense. And so there's a double-edged sword. Yes, you have more eyeballs looking at it, and hopefully that you're catching more things. But at the same token, you don't always know, does somebody have the same viewpoint on security that you do?
And I want Chad to understand, like Jason and I are not naysayers on open source software. We understand the value and
it's almost impossible to get away from.
Yeah. And a lot of good things have happened because of the open source community. A lot of great things have been made as a part of that. So we're not anti-open source.
Yeah. I think where the community could grow here is like almost a grading of the software writing and checks and balances, that have happened inside there. Maybe if I knew that, kind of like the Better Business Bureau, you go to a place that has a AAA rating, right? If you knew that you were getting source code that was open source, but it had a AAA rating, you'd much more likely use that source code because it has a AAA rating versus something that has got a lesser of a rating.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
And I almost feel like that's where the industry needs to move to.
Yeah, I think short of that, this is a great question on stream right here, right? Like let's talk about practical solutions. We've talked a little bit about SBOMs. Yes, challenging, but to fight something, you have to have an inventory. We've said this for decades around, asset management and CMDBs and things like this. And I think it's still probably one of the core foundational principles of security is that to fight something, you have to know about it. So SBOM, software bill of materials, is key. Happy to say, and this is something I do, for myself inside of Query, GitHub has a fantastic API for SBOM that actually makes it super easy for you to pull via API all your software bill of materials if you are keeping things inside of GitHub. So my number one, my core is SBOM. Jason, what's yours?
I couldn't agree more with that. I mean, I don't think that you could replace that at all. And you already said it, but the usage of GitHub and making sure that you understand the libraries that you're consuming and then the dependencies of those libraries. Mm-hmm. I know that we're ripping on this pretty hard and beating on it, but at the same token, I believe it is pretty difficult. It'd probably be near impossible to write every software code yourself.
100%.
Almost every software organization, both publicly traded and private companies that I know of, and we interface with a lot of developers, and integrate with multiple other companies. I would say it's almost 100% across the board. People are relying on other people's libraries.
I'm not here to advocate for GitHub, but I like that you talked about GitHub. I want to point some people to some specific things that we've seen that GitHub has done to make strides, because for some reason GitHub has acknowledged that they have a responsibility to the community which is awesome, absolutely fantastic. But their secret scanning, who I was working with Chris, who's on our mod team. He's been doing a lot of AI work, and he got a notification that his one of his API keys had been revoked by OpenAI, and he was like, "How the f does this happen?" Come to find out, he had accidentally done a commit that had an environmental variable that had an API key in it. Chris, if you're listening, sorry to call you out on this one for making that mistake, but it is what it is. But GitHub had found it, flagged it. OpenAI had found it, flagged it, and immediately revoked the key and immediately sent him a message that he had a leaked secret in his GitHub repository. Dependabot has been amazing in terms of finding downstream issues with a lot of dependencies and things like that. GitHub, for whatever reason, has leaned completely into trying to protect the community from a lot of the code mistakes that happen in that, and I couldn't advocate for him enough.
Yeah, Chris, you're helping out the community, so thank you. Taking one for the team. But it's those instances in those things that are happening, and that's why it's important to share. Listen, we're not saying anybody's here. We're certainly not perfect.
Yeah,
and I think one of the things of going live on these streams and talking about these things is to help the community, is to make sure that there's a healthy conversation here, that all of us are learning and growing and getting better.
Yeah.
Because one thing that we realize is that this software industry is going at such a rapid rate of speed and velocity that it's like, hey, wait a minute, you might not know about that thing over there, and that thing over there is going to help you out.
Yeah.
So go check it out and keep yourself better protected.
I know we're huge on AI here, and I'm anticipating the no AI emojis starting to make their way into chat from BeardSack. I think I would also attest this problem will get exponentially worse because of vibe coding.
Yes. Yeah. I couldn't disagree with you at all there. That's yeah. You want to expand on that?
Yeah. And again, like, I think I said this at dinner the other night when I was talking to this security organization. I think vibe coding is a good thing. I've got a belief on that. I'm happy to expand upon that for those that are interested, but I think that vibe coding is a good thing. I think that one of the downsides to vibe coding is that it will lower the bar to entry for people to create awesome stuff. And I think that that's a good thing. But at the end of the day, that also means that you have unexperienced, unskilled, uninformed folks making awesome stuff. And so they're not the ones who are listening to what's a library, what's an NPM package, I'm not getting, they're not getting the cyber alerts. They're not listening to this stream. They're not having conversations around, best practices, secure software development, best practices, things like that. And so I think that as we see, Kazoom tight, Jason, as we see a ramp up of people vibe coding or more startups in the space or more companies like that, as we see that ramp up, this is my prediction. I predict we will see more software supply chain attacks as we see more vibe coded applications at the space.
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, I pay attention to a lot of kind of people talking on X and in social media platforms, and it just seems like people are like, hey, I'm not considered a dev, I'm not considered, don't have years of experience in this, and I just whip this up, and look what it does. And then the help that AI can give on getting that app or whatever it may be help published in the Google Play Store or, the Apple Store. And now all of a sudden, next thing you know, like 1 million people download it because it was free and super cool. And yeah, I think that's one angle that I think about this from is that it could be dangerous, right?
Yep, absolutely. So we beat up on that one quite a bit. Love the interaction. That was the huge one that I definitely wanted to talk about today, was the NPM package one, because I think that my other prediction on this is that we will continue to have software supply chain near misses. I think if we had to call the next cyber Pearl Harbor, I think it's going to be in the supply chain somewhere.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And I just want to call out, there's a couple of to-dos, like if you're part of this, or if you don't even know of it and you just want to protect yourself, like literally rotate everything, tokens, keys, look through audit logs for unusual publishes, pinned version, pause auto updates.
Mm-hmm.
There's a few things right there that you could do, but the biggest things are making sure that, you don't have auto updates turned on, and your keys and tokens are rotated. Those are some of
all Jason's talking about here, chat, is SDLC, software development lifecycle, secure coding. Yeah. Like it is stuff that we've harped on, for years in the SDLC space.
But it keeps getting skipped.
Yeah.
And I don't know why. I think that people nowadays, like, you would want to be buying and procuring. If you're spending 6 figures or 7 figures on cybersecurity software from, big brand name companies, why isn't this getting taken seriously?
Mm-hmm. Yeah. There's Callie Beefcake's a longtime listener. He's a VC, and a consultant out on the West Coast. I saw him mention earlier where we talked about risk, and I think that this gets back to trust, right? There's a need to trust somewhere, and I think you hit on this the last stream, and I think the few streams before, right? Is that we have an implicit trust. This is always my hate for third party risk management, right? Is because CrowdStrike was trusted, but nobody inventoried their SBOM, right? Nobody inventoried the SBOM of their SBOMs. Nobody inventoried their tree. They just asked the question, do you audit their vendors? To which their little SOC 2 said yes. They said, do you have a software inventory? They hit a little checkbox that said yes. And boom, we have trust issues, right?
Yeah.
I think that's where we're really good. That's what really does us in this industry, is sometimes we pick the wrong things to trust, and we pick the wrong things to be critical over in our industry.
Yeah. I think that it's going to be very difficult to trust organizations until there's 100% transparency.
Oh yeah. That'll never happen. That'll never happen.
Never happen?
Never happen. I'll bet you a paycheck on that one. We will never see that. When you say 100%
paycheck.
Yeah. We will never see an industry that is 100% transparent from vendors to businesses.
Then why should I trust them? If you're not willing to be 100% transparent, then why should I trust you?
Because they just hit a new all-time high on the stock market because they launched a bunch of AI stuff at Falcon. So clearly, George Kurtz is the man you can trust day in and day out.
Oh yeah, yeah. I don't understand it. We, problem last year knocking out, the the Federal Aviation.
Yeah. With their update to their Windows.
With their update.
Yeah.
This year they're part of, the malware exploit hack for NPM packages. 8 days ago, we got this cleaned up. Here we are today. Oh no, wait a minute. It's not cleaned up as what we thought. I mean, at what point do you start to lose trust? At what point do we say, you know what, enough is enough? Obviously, you're not keeping your house clean and organized.
Here's one thing that I'll fight you a little bit on this. We're gonna rabbit hole on this one just a little bit, right? Because we can pick on CrowdStrike today because they are the flavor of the month of the things that we're seeing. It was SolarWinds 2 years ago. It was X company last year. It was X company the year before that. It was Microsoft for 2 decades when Microsoft was getting pwned left and right from an operating system perspective. I I think it's, I want to emphasize with chat, it's easy to pop shots at companies when they have security findings, but it's not isolated to CrowdStrike. It's not isolated to Microsoft. It's not isolated to SolarWinds. It is a systemic problem that is not driven by accountability from the cybersecurity industry. To Jason's point last stream, I've got CrowdStrike. I'm not going to lose my job if there's an incident. I've got SecureWorks. I'm not going to lose my job if there's an incident. I've got Cisco firewalls and routers. I'm not going to lose my job if there's a network outage, right? There's no accountability. And this is what I've said ad nauseum about our industry, whether it's GDPR or CCPA or, SolarWinds or CrowdStrike, whatever the case is. There is no accountability for a failure of security adhesion.
And I think that leaves room for improvement. Like, we need to improve there. Like, we need to be the voice that says this is improve.
Yeah.
Like, we in BitLift, and I would encourage you that are listening to not buy a product because it's the thing I should buy and I won't lose my job because I bought that product. I think that's a garbage statement, and I will, whether I will die on that hill or I will win the argument on that hill. But like, I think that is just a weak and lazy statement to not doing due diligence.
Yeah.
I think that's a cop-out. I think that we should absolutely exercise more caution and continue to look at these things, because otherwise, you can't go to your boss and say, well, the whole environment's locked up. We bought CrowdStrike. We thought we were making a good decision at the time, but now we probably should have architected our solution and our position a little bit differently.
Yeah.
I go back to the days, if you remember, and you and I were both in the industry at this time, but you think back 10, 15, 20 years ago, people bought EDR or antivirus, anti-malware agents for endpoints, and they bought antivirus, anti-malware agents for servers and core infrastructure.
Mm-hmm.
And the belief at that time is that I wanted two different agents from two different manufacturers, supporting me and protecting me.
Yep.
And potentially looking at different threats differently.
Yep.
And I guarantee you that what has happened is people have hit the easy button.
Yeah.
And I want to buy all of the software licensing from one place, one throat to choke, and then I'm going to put that agent on everything, even though it wasn't designed and architected by thinking that this is going to cover everything.
All right, but let me play 10th man on this one with you, right? Because I can see some arguments that form from this, right? And I love Beardsec's comment on here is that, like, sure, if organizations gave their people time to do proper due diligence. I mean, Jason, we have Gartner. Gartner's fantastic for putting out the Magic Quadrant and telling us what all of our industry leaders are. And industry leader not just means that they have great technology, but that they do awesome things for the community. So why shouldn't I? Like I'm sitting in front of the board after a breach, and they said, you bought BitLift, and BitLift didn't catch it, when you could have got SecureWorks or Accenture or Deloitte or anybody else's MSSP out there, they would have caught it because they're a Gartner leader. You're fired because you chose BitLift instead of Accenture.
And I would kindly remind all of those people that most of those are pay-to-play environments now. They have gotten to the top of those lists by none other by pushing money across the table. And we get the emails all the time. You made it to the top 10 cybersecurity for 2025 list. And I'm like, how in the world did I make it to that list? Because I know what we do. I'm part of all the decision-making processes and applications for the legitimate ones. And then, so out of curiosity, we hold a call, and I consider it I will multitask during that call, but I'm waiting for the right words to come out. Oh, well, for an introductory price, and you guys being part of our organization for the first time, we will open up this top 10 for 2025 for $20,000. And I'm like, well, what's the $20,000 get me? Published. You mean you're going to publish my name as the top 10 for 2025, on your website and all of your other digital areas? Yep. What's it going to cost me next year to come back? Well, you're getting the introductory price. Normally the rate card for this is 50 grand.
Mm-hmm.
And then it just spirals out of control.
So let's put a finer point on this, Jason. You're not naming names, but you're saying you've sat in rooms with these industry grading analysts who said for the small amount of $20,000 to $50,000, we can put you in a report that says top 10.
100%.
For those who have never experienced this in our industry, this is why we have trust issues.
This is why we have trust issues, is because I get back to this point. People, this industry, I need to remind, I feel like in a friendly way, I'm just reminding how this industry started. This industry started with researchers doing research and finding out how software applications worked and how you would protect yourself against these areas, these vulnerabilities. Now we have moved away from being a research-centric industry into a pay-to-play, and who's ever got the most amount of money wins. Well, just because you're a customer of CrowdStrike, Palo Alto, Cisco, Microsoft, just because those are the big dogs in the industry does not mean that you bought the best cybersecurity tools.
And I want to remind chat, we've talked about the dark money side of cybersecurity in this stream before. We've talked about CISOs creating groups that charge vendors $20,000 to sit at a table with other CISOs to try to pitch them. We've talked about CISOs being part of having vendors come into companies to implement their products and getting, advisory shares, of that company, through some type of shadow LLC. Right, we've talked about the amount of shadow money that exists in this industry. If you're unaware of this, welcome to Cyber Insecurity. Welcome to hard truths and hard facts about the industry. But I would argue we have dark money in a place in our industry that does not belong in a mission set that's driven about protecting the world.
Yeah. I would just encourage you guys, do due diligence. Take the time to do due diligence around the products that you buy. It's very important. You won't regret it. You'll become more knowledgeable about the products that are out there. And don't be afraid of finding a company that you might not have heard of in these top magazines and top publications, right? That does what you want it to do. You test it, you POC it, and you run it through the paces, again, doing the due diligence. And then you find some smaller company that is out there doing good, that might be 50 or 100 people, and they might not be publicly traded, but their product actually works and does what you want it to do.
Yeah.
And that's okay. That's okay.
All right, Jason, we did a little bit of a rabbit hole on that one. Let's go on to the next one that you got on the list here, just in case we have to rabbit hole on that one too.
I know. So there's a lot happening, obviously right now in the space. I wanted to put some attention to. Well, first, let me ask this question. Let's back up for a second. What do you think about the iOS 26 coming out?
I mean, it's already out. I've already got it on several of my devices. Actually, on all three of them.
I mean, they went from 18 to 26. Did anybody notice that?
I mean, listen, they learned from Microsoft.
Yeah.
I mean, that's what it is. They've learned from Microsoft.
I kind of want to know what happened between, 18 dot something and 26.
That's how they get to charge more for the iPhone devices, is because they skipped a few versions, so they had to adjust the price of inflation as if you had already paid for those other versions.
Yes. Okay. I'm with you now. All right.
Yeah.
Well, as long as I threw that out there.
Yeah. Like, are you not a fan of the goofy little like kid looking bubbles that's in the new iOS 26? Is that your biggest gripe on iOS 26? Did you come here on stream to gripe about kid looking bubbles on iOS 26?
I just find it funny that, going from 18 to 26, like the size of the profile picture has gotten bigger.
No, it's the thinnest iPhone ever. Jason, what are you talking about? It's the thinnest iPhone ever.
I'm talking about your profile picture.
I thought you were talking about the profile of the phone.
No. Yeah. So, yeah, right. Like the innovation is clearly dying there, because now the only thing that we can innovate on is it's getting thinner. And, but yet the Pro version has gotten nothing but thicker.
Right. Right.
But, one thing that you and I have been talking about is, my head has been primarily wrapped around, the server enterprise environments.
Yeah.
And what I wanted to make sure that we were talking about is like cybersecurity as a whole.
Okay.
It might not be only around like Microsoft or Cisco or, the enterprise, mid-market space, but is truly thinking about like, hey, we're not afraid to talk about, Apple, Samsung, or, other things that are in the space that you might have in your pocket or somebody might have at the office that you need to be careful of.
I don't think that that's unfair at all. When we see the largely predominant remote workforce, despite some of the RTO stuff that we hear, around the community and whatnot and things like that, like the edge has been pushing further and further out for a decade now. And I mean, there's a lot of folks who, when we talk about our sales, go to marketing folks, sometimes, the executive leadership teams, product management, those folks do 90 to 95% of their business from a mobile device.
Yes. Yeah. And so you've got to pay attention to it. There are some flaws. There's quite a few flaws in the latest, in 18.7. 18.6 to 18.7 got pushed relatively quick.
Mm-hmm.
And now you see like, they're pushing, 26 out, but holy smokes, like, the Mac OS for that was like 14 gigs.
It was massive. It
was huge. So, so just highlighting that. So if you've got, I want to name a few things off, like, SAP. SAP is out there in the enterprise space pretty big time. We've seen some 0-day RCEs that are a critical problem for SAP. So if you've got SAP in your environment, would highly recommend that you start taking a look at it. There is a patch available for the system, but again, patching SAP is not something that you're gonna,
like that's like those are core to a lot of like enterprise operations. Like you just don't like apply patch and hit restart on those things.
Yeah. So take a look at that. And I don't know if anybody recognizes this one, but there was a Crush FTP out there.
Cool. People still use FTP? Man.
Oh man. Let me tell you. Are you part of the banking system?
I haven't been for a minute. I haven't been for a minute. Fidelity was the last time I was part of the banking system.
Oh my gosh. Like if you would, step into a bank, I was talking to a banking auditor not too long ago, just like 4 or 5 weeks ago. And we were like casually joking around over some sushi about how banks still use a ton of FTP to move around files. It's still part of their core architecture and solution, and it's rather comical.
I mean, it shouldn't surprise anybody. I mean, IBM is still a company thanks to mainframes. So, I mean, like, it shouldn't surprise anybody, that FTP is still around.
Yeah. So there was a little bit of a 0-day there with some crush FTP. Microsoft IIS, the web deployment, there's some problems there. There's a patch that's out, but again, there's something like 20,000 vulnerable instances out there. So,
yes, people. Yeah, that's another one of those. Yes, people still use IIS even in this day and age. IIS is still a thing.
100%. So, and you might have your reasoning for using it. More power to you.
We're sorry if we're sorry. Never mind. I'm not gonna say. I won't say that one.
Yeah.
I'll keep that one to myself.
But wanted to highlight though. So Akira ransomware is targeting SonicWall appliances. Mm-hmm. So SonicWall is not left out of this. They're pretty decent sized organizations. Spikes in this have been continuing to go up since July. There's also another group out there, Hybrid Petya, which is a new Petya-like strain. It bypasses the UEFI secure boot. There is a patch out there, but again, if you haven't patched lately, you really need to focus in on that. So if you're a SonicWall user, these things came out in multiple instances, meaning multiple communications. CISA had pushed out something back in July, but I was just reading on this and looking at it and finding out that not a lot of people had actually pushed the updates. So I don't think people got the communication.
I think when you talk about SonicWall, and while I won't speak specifically on SonicWall, it does remind me of one of the ones that I wanted to bring up with you. Somebody in chat had talked about, did we see that one of the largest DDoS attacks had been recorded by Cloudflare yet again. This time using IoT devices on the internet to conduct the DDoS, and it sparked me to remind folks that there may have been a huge buzz around the Mirai botnet years ago as being one of the really first huge IoT driven botnets that existed out there, but that doesn't change the fact that now that that was just one of those tip of the iceberg moments where people were like, oh, you mean we can use these IoT devices to continue to do nefarious things because they're rarely patched, they're rarely behind firewalls, whatever the case is. We continue to see over and over again the targeting of IoT and externally facing edge devices, especially in commodity. I'm not trying to completely disparage SonicWall by calling them low-end tech, but they're not a Fortinet, they're not a Cisco, they're not that type of company, and so people are out there looking to take advantage of those types of things.
Yeah, 100%. I mean, we had lots of people over the last 10 years say, well, we bought SonicWall because it was inexpensive.
Exactly.
And we could procure it. It was a start in the right direction.
Right.
They're big in the municipality space. They're big in the higher ed space, the smaller higher eds that, need to afford something that's less expensive.
Yeah.
And yeah, it's prevalent out there. So it's also prevalent in the space that doesn't have the time or focus on cybersecurity.
Yeah.
So it's like these devices are sitting in environments that don't get a lot of love.
Yes.
And they don't get the time and focus and effort that they need. Yeah. So
they make for ripe targets. They make for ripe targets. They make for ripe targets.
Oh yeah. Absolutely.
Yeah. Yeah.
So those are some of the major things that I wanted to make sure that we focused in on today.
It's a good update, Jason. It's a good update. It seems like every time we talk, though, we've got more and more things that we could talk about than we fit time into, and I think that kind of leads to an announcement that we wanted to make for the community.
Yeah. So, are you going to tell them, or you want me to?
I know you didn't prepare a speech, so I don't know whether I want to like watch you fumble over trying to figure out how to get this out of your mouth, or whether you want me to do it.
Well, upcoming, we got some cool stuff that's going to be happening. I think we want to share it.
All right, Jason, you're a shitty storyteller. I'm going to tell the story.
All right.
That's right. Beard Tech fumbled the bag. Yeah. So Jason and I have been streaming for we're going on 9 months now. We've had a lot of really good success. We love having Jason on here. You guys really seem to enjoy having Jason on. We've always talked about in the stream or on the channel having more threat focused stuff, and Jason and I, we set out at the beginning of the year being very conservative, being respectful to Jason, the fact that he has to run BitLift, and that's a huge lift for him and his team and his organization. So we started out super conservative, with the 2 streams-ish a month, and those have been working really, really well. Well, Jason and I were talking. We seem to, like today, run out of time. We've got more stuff that we want to talk about. We go through a couple rabbit holes that are pretty important for the team, but feel like we run that risk of like, what can we cover every 2 weeks versus what can we cover in an hour? So Jason and I spoke this week. That's one of the reasons why we, it's one of the reasons why we streamed today instead of Tuesday. We were actually like on the phone during our normal stream time on Tuesday talking about this. Starting in October, we're going to shift up a little bit of the stream schedule with Jason and the BitLift team and the streams. Yes, Sonic, more streams. We are going to move to Monday morning. I think Jason and I are still working on the time, but I think we're looking at like a 9 a.m. start of the week, Monday morning threat briefing stream. So right before we go into co-working, we're going to start out with a BitLift a threat briefing every Monday. That way, that's right, Sonic. We'll get a nice start of the week with a threat briefing from the BitLift team to where we can do these Monday morning. We'll roll into some co-working streams, and then that way you get a threat briefing at the beginning of the week. You'll have Brandon with his daily cyber on Wednesday. We will then finish off the week with a tea with a hacker on a Friday, and some co-working on Friday. And then outside of BitLift, I can tell you that I'm working on another show that will be added to the stream schedule, potentially 2 shows that'll be added to the stream schedule as well. So
not as exciting as what you.
Whoa! Is there some jealousy there? Do you want more? That's right, Hector. A golf show. So yes.
Yeah.
So obviously, next week I'll be in Florida. We've got a golf tournament in Florida, so make sure if you're not on Instagram that you're following me on Instagram. Definitely be posting pictures from PJ Resort down in Florida. But I think either the last week of September or the first week of October, and Jason and I are working to figure out like which one he's going to be able to start on. But starting probably in October, every Monday, tune in 9 a.m. We'll get the week kicked off with some more threat briefs, and that way we can kind of cover down on more topics for longer first thing Monday morning. Yeah. Jason, I'll pass it over to you, see if there's anything you want to kind of add to that.
Yeah, we wanted to be intentional about this. So a couple of the things that we were thinking about was that we can get, hey, what was happening like last part of last week? What happened maybe over the weekend with announcements? What's happening sort of in real time, and get you guys started like on the Monday morning week about, okay, this is going to be helpful to what I should be prioritizing in my week this week. And so we want to get that information to you Monday mornings. That was one of the reasons why we picked that. So, feel free to, give us any sort of feedback on how you feel like the Monday mornings will go for your schedule. But the biggest part is making sure that we're actually starting to get more information out on a more regular basis. Yeah. And I mean, like today, we easily had 4 to 5 pages of information that we were ready to go over, and we just run out of time by the time we really talk through each one. So that's why I quickly shot off some of the other pieces near the end.
Really quick on that, I want to explain to chat, like one of the things that Jason and I have struggled with, and we'll try to wrap this up because I did just get a reminder from my moderator, and I know you've got to go because you had a hard stop that you had to go to as well.
I do, and it's already started. But
Yeah. You can go if you need to, and I'll tell chat this if you need to bounce. But one of the things that Jason and I struggle with is we don't want to be a news outlet where we're just firing off headlines at you. We think that the value that comes from Jason and I is our combined experience and the strategic way in which we look at these things, which is why we spend time talking about these topics.
Yeah, it's important to us. So
yeah. All right, Jason.
Thank you, everyone. Yeah, you guys all have a great day. Talk to you soon.
All right, Jason. Take care. I'll finish off with the chat.
Thanks.
All right, chat. Thanks everybody for tuning in. We're gonna send Jason along his way. Hopefully you guys enjoy that. Hopefully you guys like the news upcoming on that. We're excited to be bringing that to you. Just a reminder, there will be no Tea with a Hacker tomorrow. I'll be on the road headed to Florida for a tournament this weekend. Do appreciate anybody doing who shoots me DMs in support of the tournament this weekend. So we will be back streaming. So that basically means no streams next week. Make sure you follow BeardSec and you go tune into his co-working streams next week and get that get that daily dose of productivity ish with Beard next week. September 20, whatever that day is, September 20, there's a calendar around here somewhere. September 29th, we will be back in full swing. I will be attempting to do some Instagram stuff while I'm in Florida. Whether those end up being reels in terms of AMAs. I may try to do an Instagram live from the golf course. We'll see how that goes. But that's probably where you can catch me over the next week or so. With that being said, I'll give you my obligatory. I think y'all are awesome. Thank you so much for staying awesome and being awesome and tuning in today. I truly do appreciate it. Have fun. We got a kick-ass industry here. As much as we talk about some of the stuff that happens, it's a great industry to be part of, and I couldn't be prouder. So that being said, whether you're on the red side or the blue side or still deciding, keep learning, and we'll see y'all next time.